back inside Gillette Stadium, everybody. My name is Mike Petraglia, joined as always by Patriots expert columnist for WEEI.com, Christopher Price. Chris, I guess you could say this was inevitable. The two top teams in the AFC pretty much all season long, the Denver Broncos and your New England Patriots, are in the AFC title game for the second time in 3 years. And for the second time in 3 years, it's at Sports Authority Field in Denver, and that is because the Patriots stumbled to the finish line, losing their last two regular season games, and of course losing in Denver in that thrilling overtime game, 30-24, the game Rob Gronkowski was injured in. But the theme this week, Chris, I think here inside Gillette is this is a much different New England Patriots team and a much different Denver Broncos team. Where do you begin in terms of analyzing the differences from back in late November to now?
Well, I think for the Patriots, it starts on the offensive side of the ball. They went into that game that Sunday night in Denver without Julian Edelman, without Danny Amendola. Rob Gronkowski was not able to finish because of the knee injury. So you look at what they had in the backfield that evening, really wasn't a lot, or specifically on offense, it really wasn't a lot. And so you take a look at this offense now, specifically the passing game. You have Gronkowski as close to full strength as possible. You have Julian Edelman out there. You have Danny Amendola out there. And you have a rapidly emerging James White. And so that quick strike passing game that the Patriots were so reliant on at the start of the year that got them so much yardage, then was able to really allow them to pile up as many points as they did, that's back in focus right now. And I think that that's one of the things that the Denver defense specifically has to look for. We saw that in the divisional playoff game against the Chiefs, where the Patriots were able to get back to their old ways. Brady was able to get the ball out. The snap-to-throw time was back down under 2 seconds on average. And so that's going to be a lot for Denver to handle. The Denver defense has been very impressive over the course of the 2015 season, but they have quite a challenge on Sunday.
Bill Belichick said that Wade Phillips, he's known him a very, very long time, which he has, pretty much 40 years. They have both been in the NFL coaching at different stops along the way. And Wade Phillips has been known to blitz here and there and be very aggressive. But based on what you just said, if Tom Brady is effective getting the ball out in 2 seconds or less, don't you think that maybe they alter the game plan a little bit? DeMarcus Ware is back for the Broncos. Don't you think they maybe alter that a little bit?
Yeah, I think the process would be, if I'm Wade Phillips, you run a lot of nickel and you run a lot of dime packages, because I think the best possible scenario for the Patriots is to spread things out very, very early. Go 4 and 5 wide and get that passing game rolling. We've said it before on a number of occasions. The Patriots passing game is at its best when it's rhythm, tempo, timing, and they're able to chew up that chunk yardage with those 2 and 3 second outs that Brady throws to either Amendola or White or Edelman or whoever the case may be. So if I'm Wade Phillips, I have to kind of flip it around a little bit and maybe take one of those linebackers off the field, go with an extra defensive back. Now that brings up a real challenge for them because Chris Harris may not be able to go. So it's going to be really interesting to see what the Broncos decide to do from a personnel perspective.
You just gave me a much better answer than Bill Belichick did today when I asked Bill in the press conference at Gillette Stadium about rhythm and tempo and how important that is. I wrote on WEEI.com this week that Josh McDaniels and Tom Brady have a real special thing going. They were able to come out on Saturday right out of the chute. I think it was 14 straight plays without a running play, so 14 straight passes to start the game. Went back and looked at the Denver Patriots play-by-play in late November. That was 9 straight passes. But I asked Bill Belichick, and he says, I care about scoring points. All the rest doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah, exactly. It's all gravy, no matter how you get in the end zone. And I think when you look at these two matchups, when you look at what Denver has to offer on the defensive side of the ball, you don't want to get bunched up. You don't want to run a lot of heavy sets. You want to spread things out, at least early on. Obviously, as the game goes on, you're going to change things up situationally, tempo, whatever the case may be. But to open things up, I think the Patriots want to be able to put some pressure on that Denver defense, put some stress on them in particular areas. Again, I think the Chris Harris injury has the potential to be very dicey for Denver because he, at least in theory, would be the guy on Julian Edelman. Obviously, it's not going to be man coverage all day, but I think he's one of those guys that you have to have if you're Denver and you want to be able to execute on the defensive side of the ball.
Antonio Smith and Malik Jackson, two guys who have been running their yap a little bit here in the pregame festivities leading up to the AFC Championship on Sunday, calling Tom Brady a whiner, saying that he looks to the ref to try and get calls, roughing the quarterback calls. And Tom Brady, I thought, was very artful here on Wednesday, saying, I love it when the referees throw that flag at the defense. Why? Because it moves the offense further down the field. Tom Brady was also asked whether or not he remembers any specific conversations with referees like Ed Hockley, the one who will be officiating on Sunday. He said, no, I've been hit too many times. But all kidding aside, Tom Brady is not going to get into, let's call it what it is, a pissing match with the Denver Broncos in the week leading up to the game.
Yeah, it's just one of those things that I think that, covering the Patriots for an extended period of time like we have, more often than not, somewhere along the way, during a big game, before a big game, or in the postseason, someone decides to open their mouth. So I think it's going to be used as bulletin board material over the course of the week, but I don't think that necessarily you're going to see a lot of engagement from this side when you're talking about a war of words.
All right, on the other side, the other big difference, Chris, obviously, that is going to be present on Sunday that wasn't on November 29th, one Peyton Manning. This is the 17th time. I don't know if you've heard that Tom Brady and Peyton Manning have a pretty big rivalry in the NFL, but this is an all-timer. The fourth time they are meeting in an AFC championship environment, and Bill Belichick was asked on Wednesday what he thought of Peyton Manning and his ability to move the team, whether or not, Gary Kubiak will have a big influence or not. What he said was classic Bill Belichick. I never, ever, ever want to get all those evers in. Underestimate Peyton Manning.
Yeah, and I think he'd be foolish to it, because I think that what we saw from Peyton in the divisional playoff game, look, he's not the same Peyton that he was 3, 4, 5 years ago, but Devin McCourty, I thought, has said it a couple times over the course of the week. We saw all that we needed to see from Manning in that final drive, that game-winning drive against the Steelers. He is not the same physical Peyton Manning that he was over the course of the first 10, 12, 14 years of his career, whatever you want to say it. But he's still good enough to put his team in positions to win, whether that's checking down into a run, whether that's, avoiding a sack, whatever the case may be. He's still able to make the right decision. So, again, it's going to be fascinating to see what kind of Peyton we see on Sunday in how the Patriots decide to go about defending him. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Patriots' first priority stopping the run and daring Peyton to beat him over the top.
You mentioned Devin McCourty. He brought up a stat that Bill Belichick brought up to the team here on Wednesday that I think will determine the outcome of the game. The Broncos have run for 100 yards. Their running game has produced 100 yards 10 times. 9 of those games, the Denver Broncos won. That, to me, is really the answer. It's how the Broncos won and got to overtime, first of all, on November 29th, and everybody remembers the runaround end that won the game in overtime. Patriots have to do a better job stopping the run. They gave up 173 yards in that first meeting. They stopped the run. I think they win the game.
Yeah, exactly. I'm right there with you. I think if Dante Hightower is as healthy as we have been led to believe he is, I think that's going to play a huge role in this game. He ended up missing a sizable chunk of action that November night against the Broncos. And so when you look at the matchups defensively, what the Patriots need to do, what they need to accomplish in order to win this game, it starts with their ability to stop the run. They have a pretty good offense. Hillman, Anderson, what they want to do when it comes to executing on the ground, the Patriots need to get that good performance up front.
I think, would be remiss if we didn't talk about another hero. Last postseason, it was Vince Wilfork saving a family or a woman from a car. This time it's Darius Fleming. The reports are that he played with some 20 stitches in his leg after busting open a window to get a woman out of a smoking/burning car. And Matthew Slater said here on Wednesday, that just speaks to the kind of character that is in that locker room.
Yeah, it is. And I think that, in the limited time that I've spent with Darius Fleming, it's not a real surprise that he would be the kind of guy who would answer the call in a situation like that. So, again, like Matthew said, there's a lot of character in that locker room. And I think what Fleming was able to do in saving, kind of leaping to safety, helping those people out in that situation. Again, I think that says a lot about who he is.
You have to act, and he acted. That's what Matthew Slater and Rob Ninkovich both said. Okay, prediction, Chris, what do you think?
I think the Patriots end up winning this thing